And it's interesting that the new owners of Paramount are signaling that they want to double down. It's really mind-numbing.
Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of Make That Make Sense, the game show where we dissect the latest stories at the intersection of digital media and money. Today's guest is a rock star, so let's introduce him. Today, I have the pleasure to welcome Farhad Massoudi. Farhad is the founder and former CEO of Tubi. Under his leadership, Farhad grew Tubi into one of the largest ad-supported streaming services. Farhad helped then lead the acquisition of Tubi to Fox Corporation for $500 million, where Tubi continues to be one of Fox family's highest performing assets. And in a prior life, Farhad was an engineer at Yahoo. All right, let's welcome him to the show. Farhad, thanks for coming on Make That Make Sense.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
Stoked to have you on the show. I know we have a lot to talk about this week and excited to hear your insights. Let's quickly get to the rules and then we'll get to the show. On the show, we go through one headline, one tweet, and one deal in 15 minutes. Each section, meaning the headline, deal, and tweet, will last 3.5 minutes. You'll then have 1 minute to answer each trivia question. And all topics, meaning the headline, deal, and tweet, are from the last 10 days. So everything is very new, recent in the industry. So this comes off the back of the merger that happened between Paramount and SkyDance back in July. Just for a little note for our audience, David Ellison is one of the biggest investors in SkyDance. So he's going to have a big role post-merger. I want to step back and ask you first, what are the implications of this merger on the media industry from your perspective?
Well, so maybe a quick background on the industry. Look, we've been going through a period of secular decline of traditional television. Cable television was and has been an incredible business, but it's unfortunately declining with really high margins. And usually when a category of business gets disrupted, the new business created is substantially smaller than the business disrupted. And so we're seeing this in traditional, sort of classic innovator's dilemma. So media industry and media companies are all been shrinking. And some a lot more than others. Warner Media famously went from 100 billion enterprise value to now combined with Discovery, less than 20 billion market cap. So CBS Viacom merged at some point, re-merged again into what became Paramount, and a lot of household name assets in it, from CBS to BET to Paramount and to many other assets, MTV, and I think they had a few paths to take, and there's a few other players that we can point to see what they have done. If you look at, for example, Sony Pictures, they decided to sell Shovel to gold diggers and not play in the streaming ecosystem. Others, like Disney, went all out, and they've had decent success. The issue with the landscape is that Netflix is the dominant player, and it doesn't look like they're going to be dethroned, especially with the cash flow and the over 200 million subscribers they have. And the next players are Amazon, which bundles with Amazon Prime. Hard to dethrone that. You could suggest like Apple is sort of a player that doesn't really care about how much they're losing money. And those are your top three players. And then probably Disney, obviously, I'm sure they're ranked number 3 between Hulu and Disney Plus. So none of the other players have any chance of right now being top 3. Now, when you're competing in a subscription video on demand service, the lower you are in ranking, it's exponentially worse business. You have much higher churn, lower retention, higher cost of acquisition, competing on content. You don't have as much budget, so you have to punch your way above your weight. You don't have a number of subscribers, so your cash flow is upside down. Disney was losing until recently, $3 billion a year. This first year that it turned profit. Warner, same thing, billions of dollars a year losses. But in the case of Paramount, this was a strategic decision by them. I'm not pointing any particular executives there, but they had a market cap of about $12 billion ish up and down, and they were projected to lose $8 billion on their streaming service, with the hope of making number 5 or maintaining their position. That was a crazy bet, and it just from distance it just didn't make any sense at all. And naturally, over time, they were losing more and more, so they cut their dividend to invest more into this. Now, coming to this deal, it is really interesting to me that so the other peers of Paramount Plus are Peacock, right? Max, which is more successful than them. And then there are a bunch of other smaller ones, Stars and others. There is a lot of discussion around how maybe two of these would merge, but it is almost impossible to imagine that we would have as many SVOD services of that size in 3 years from now. So they have to shut down or merge and consolidate. And it's interesting that the new owners of Paramount are signaling that they want to double down. It's really mind-numbing. I don't see, and I've heard the pitch, which is, we're better than make content. It's like saying I'm a better investor in startups, and I'm going to invest, $1 million into 3 companies, and I'm going to have a crazy outcome. You cannot have fewer bets than win. Nobody knows what movies and TV shows will do well. So this is where we are. It is a I think it is a hobby bet. And David Ellison has a lot of money, so I'm sure he can play around with it. I'm curious to see how this is going to play out, but I'm not very optimistic.
Well, it's super interesting to hear your perspective. Are we ready for our tweet?
Let's do it.
So this was kind of an event that took over the internet over the last week or so, with Cenat being one of the biggest creators on the internet. And he ran this month-long stream, which didn't stop, and people had to continue subscribing or donating money to keep the stream going. So obviously a huge success for him personally, and for Twitch, clearly. How do you see, with the creator economy getting more into streaming, as we see in this example, how do you think other streaming services can incorporate the top creators into their platforms?
Look, I think, again, going a little macro picture, we are going through this trend in the media ecosystem where media creation and consumption is becoming more fragmented. Right? Look at news sources back in the 1970s. 30% of the country was tuning into folks like Walter Cronkite. Today we've got podcasts, and especially this election year, I think podcasts and smaller players had a lot of influence, and the cable networks and news networks had a lot less. So that happened to music, that happened to publishing, and it certainly is now happening in entertainment. I'm not a Twitch customer or user per se, but I read about this too, and it shows that more and more, it's not about content is king, but it's about pairing the right user with the right piece of content. So it's about fragmentation of viewership. So we're moving away from a few people having the keys to the throne, someone sitting at the top of major Hollywood studio and picking what show should run at 5 p.m. And more in the world where some influencer, some young kid, I think he's 22, just is able to connect with like-minded people, and they just appreciate his voice and his message far more than a traditional cable TV network. And the winner in this ecosystem are platforms like YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, and the losers are the ones with curation, if you will, and a few people sitting at top and choosing what the whole country should watch.
It's interesting. Netflix has tried to, I think, integrate creators maybe in a different way. You've seen a lot of creators have their own stand-up specials or kind of shows to kind of bring them into the platform. Do you see top platforms like this going full on into kind of independent streaming like Twitch does, or it's kind of outside of their business model too much?
I think they are going to certainly experiment, and I think they're very interested. Both the influencers and the streamers. The question will be, can they stay relevant, and are they the best platforms for this type of content? Or, as we've seen, when there's a new content paradigm, usually the distribution platforms change. I mean, TikTok, Instagram before that, Facebook before that. New format, images was Instagram, right? And then it was sort of TikTok was short videos. Before that was YouTube. And so, I think that history has taught these guys a lot of lessons. So the streamers are very pushing hard. But they need to be a platform face first, not a, calling a few people their buddies and their cousin of so-and-so and picking them for a 6 p.m. approach. If they are able to build that ecosystem and platform and community inside their streaming platform, I think they'll have a chance. Otherwise, someone else will replace them.
So the infrastructure has to be built up first in order for those things to be possible.
The reason this guy did it on Twitch is because Twitch is very well built for building, growing, and maintaining a community. That is a modern platform.
Yeah.
That's what streamers do well today.
All right, I think we should go on to our deal. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
So this was a deal that first got rumored to be happening back in February, and now it officially closed yesterday or the day before. Take me first from a macro perspective. Why is retail media all I can hear about in this space? Why is it such a big deal? And why are the biggest retailers going hard into it?
Yeah. First of all, my good friend William is the CEO of Vizio, and I'm very happy that this deal closed, and I'm very happy for the team there. But look, TV manufacturing has gone through a dramatic change. It used to be a low-margin hardware business, and they quickly learned that if they build an operating system and build an advertising platform on it, they can have the extra margin there. They can even sell TVs cheaper, which is what they're doing. Now, the industry also got shaken by the entrance of Chinese manufacturers like Hisense and what's the other one? TTCL. And so that drove dramatically prices down, the combination of these two. But you see, Samsung has its own operating system, LG has its own operating system, and the reason it hasn't consolidated is because these TV manufacturers learned from phone manufacturing that if they go to Android, they become commoditized. They refuse to work with the large OS systems. As much as they've announced partnerships, they've all been very limited, right? The largest OSs are Roku, Amazon Fire, and then next is sort of Google TV, which is Android powered. And for Walmart, obviously they sell a lot of TV, and if they want to sell TVs at a high margin, they need to have their own OS. And Vizio was very clever. The story of the company is fascinating for your listeners, viewers. I recommend going and checking it out. It's an incredible story, but they don't actually have a manufacturing facility. They have they outsource everything, and that's why they keep the costs low. So they built an OS, and I think it makes a lot of sense for Walmart to get into it and start selling their own TVs now going forward. Now, what is interesting is it would have made more sense for them to buy Roku, a much larger player, much more established, arguably a much better operating system, at least much more established operating system. But for some reason, they couldn't reach an agreement. I don't know why, but it's good for Vizio. I think they're going to get a lot of attention. And I'm sure they're going to push heavy on Walmart stores moving forward.
And from everything I've read, it's pretty clear Walmart decided that this is a counterattack to what Amazon, which is really their biggest competitor in retail, has been doing. Amazon has been dominating this space, and it's still early. Does this move the needle from Walmart, in your opinion, or is it just? I mean, is Amazon kind of too far ahead at this point?
Well, look, I think that the challenge Amazon has is that they're in everyone's business, and so everyone's threatened by Amazon. And if you're a TV manufacturer, you are afraid of Amazon because their businesses, they partner with you and eventually they'll come and kill you. So if you are, I don't know, a third tier, let's say Toshiba, TV manufacturer, you would much rather partner with someone that is not going to come and for the jugular. And Walmart has the ability to access a certain customer base who go to the retail stores and purchase these TVs. And they also have a very unique data set, which so does Amazon. So layering their data for targeting, plus the ability to serve ads on their TVs, I think is significant. Now, whether it's meaningful or not, I think I don't have that access to the numbers. Walmart numbers are so big. I don't know if it's going to make it on Walmart's overall EBITDA picture, but I think it's part of the puzzle of it in Amazon. It makes sense to me.
All right, well, I'm glad it makes sense, kind of the theme of the show. Are we ready to get to trivia?
Let's do it.
The first question is a guess that company theme. So, you'll guess that company. The platform initially launched in 2020. They spent billions on original content to compete with larger services, and they announced a merger in 2023 with another streaming service.
Quibi?
It wouldn't be Quibi now.
Announced a merger in 23 with another streaming service. The platform launched in 2020, spent billions of original content. There's so many that have spent, I don't know the timeline. Maybe it's Showtime?
Close.
Let's see. There's Peacock is still around.
Mm-hmm.
And it would probably be a streaming service. Ooh, I don't know. HBO Max is Max, so
yeah, that's
why I didn't call it.
Okay, two truths and a lie. You tell me which one is the lie. Ad-supported streaming services are projected to outpace subscription-based services in revenue by 2027. Hulu generates more revenue per user through its ad-supported plan than its ad-free plan. And Netflix was the first major streaming platform to offer an ad-supported tier.
First major streaming. So 2 is definitely true. I know Hulu makes more money on the ad-supported tier than totally not free tier. I think the projection number 1 is maybe projected, but I don't believe that to be true. Even if some analyst said it, sounds like one of those things analysts say, but I don't believe that to be true. In terms of revenue, no way. I don't know. But Netflix was the first one that kind of did so.
Well, Farhad, that was a pleasure. Thanks for coming on for a unique weekly format to kind of recap the week in news, and really appreciate having you.
My pleasure. This was fun. Good to see you.
Awesome. Thanks, Farhad.
Cheers.